2018 has been described by various, been qualified by various adjectives as we wrap up the trading year. Some say it's been a turbulent year. Some say it's been a wide ride for commodities and stocks around the world, from developed markets to emerging markets and frontier markets. And this is the final 24 hours of 2018. And of course, if you just take your time, it's going to be a happy new year for some countries where we're looking at a bit of the New Zealand and what will just well always the early crossings into the new year. But of course, this is the final business and markets. The across the world market is still not over yet. Trading is ongoing across in major jurisdictions. So this is your Business Morning live here on Channels Television. I am Boston Amafaye. Let's get the show started, but of course we'll focus more on this early part of the program on what's expected to be the playbook for 2019. These are some of the unfinished business of 2018 being carried over into the new year. And top of that is the higher minimum wage, which President Buhari has currently in his pending box with the labor unions angling for a showdown with the government in the new year. The General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress, also Ezen, says in part that he wants to say that if this is not addressed, that is the minimum wage, the issue will become the major determinant of the 2019 general elections. He made those statements a couple of days ago on the news that President Buhari, during the presentation of the 2019 budget proposals to the National Assembly, says a new technical committee will be set up to determine the new minimum wage funding options which will be available to the government and avoid using borrowed funds to pay the higher minimum wage and avoid a fiscal crisis, as well as the expected negative impact of higher minimum wage on Nigeria's inflationary pressure. So we're going to the new year with no final resolution as far as the new minimum wage is concerned. Of course, the Industrial Court asked all parties to the issue to step forward and present their papers in January. Meantime, for the education sector, there is no final deal yet between the government and the university lecturers on wages, benefits, and welfare after nearly 10 months of sit-at-home action. All that will also be part of the playbook in the new year. What about the power sector? The transition market is due for a review next year. That will bring the first 5 years of the privatization of the power sector under President Jonathan to an end. The key issues which the Buhari's administration will be looking at in the power sector next year are already known. Very highly contentious whether we should have a higher electricity tariffs, which has been canvassed by the power distribution companies, including professionals in the business and financial sector. The issues of metering is not being done yet, and the power firm's performance post-November 2013 sale will come under very sharp focus in the new year, as well as the need for new investments in the GENCOs and DISCOs. All that will be coming through the power sector as we get into the new year. And of course, on the backside of that is what you call our petrol price under recovery. The regime will continue into the new year, as you heard from Mr. President. $1 billion will be set aside in 2019 appropriations to continue the under recovery. The NNPC says about 20 naira or 25 naira is the current under recovery. And if you put that together, we're spending about 1.5 billion naira per day on petrol price under recovery, placing the petrol pump price at 145 naira per litre. But Nigerians should be prepared for a likely shift in the policy focus of the government after the general elections, as fuel subsidy bill is weighing heavily on the Nigerian government. One of the news we're tracking for you in the new year, which is in our playbook, is the Nigerian Stock Exchange going public. The technical word for it is called demutualization. That is when a stock exchange moves from being a mutual exchange into a PLC. So the Nigerian Stock Exchange has in its back pocket the bill that has been signed on by the president to move the Nigerian Stock Exchange after nearly 60 years of being a mutual exchange to become a PLC. The implementation of the new roadmap for the Nigerian Stock Exchange as a PLC will start early in the new year. And that will see the NSE going what you called a blue ocean. Meantime, President Buhari's right-hand man in the monetary sector, the central bank chief, Godwin Emefiele, clocks 5 years in the new year in the saddle as the head of the financial regulator. His tenure formally will be done by the first week of June. Godwin Emefiele has helped Buhari's administration to navigate a very brutal foreign exchange years of 2015 and 2016 and helps the government also increase local industrial productions via the FX ban on 41 items, now 42 if you add fertilizer, which was announced just a few weeks ago. And Godwin Emefiele's central bank has also helped prevent a total meltdown of the Naira local currency against the US dollar. All that will be part of the playbook for the new year. Meantime, as we wrap up 2018, the unlisted industrial giant BOA Group has gotten the approval of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and the shareholders to merge its Kalambina Cement Company with that of the listed cement company of Northern Nigeria known as CCNN, based in Sokoto State. The Nigerian Stock Exchange is expected to list the shares of the expanded cement maker in the next couple of days. Under the new deal, the total capacity of the merged cement makers is estimated at 2 million metric tons. That will be bringing BOA's total cement capacity production to 8 million metric tons per annum on the recent completion of another 3 million metric tons per annum cement factory in Okwala in Edo State. And that's pushing the frontier of cement competition in Nigeria head-to-head with Dangote Cement. All that is in your news box and your playbook for the new year 2019. As you relax for the holidays, don't forget we still have a lot of grounds to cover in the new year. Look at the stock markets. We had a last-minute rally for technically the final trading day of the month of December. On Friday, the market gained nearly 1%. No thanks, or big thanks as it were, to banking sector, industrial and consumer goods. Let's throw the market numbers to Temple Ashaju, who is live to us from the Nigerian Stock Exchange in downtown Lagos. The NESE over-the-counter also came through with some green numbers, while we saw a very active trading on treasury bills with yields crossing 15% on Friday. Temple, this is your Good Morning Monday, the final Monday in 2018. Take it from here.
Good morning, boss, and thanks for throwing it at us here at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, actually. Yes, we saw so much last-minute trading on Friday, even though we were down some 207 basis points on Friday. That didn't change the positive sentiment, especially of the domestic investors who had taken a position in a whole lot of companies with fundamentals in the system. We ended up closing the week up by some 0.86%, which was really something really good. We know that the reason for the sell pressure we saw on Friday was simply because some of the offshore investors who are not willing to get into the 2019 election year with us are the ones selling down, and we have a few other investors rebalancing their portfolio in the system. That's why we were really down on Friday. But going forward, today being the last trading day of the year, traditionally the market is fond of closing positively on the last day of the year as well, before we then start seeing the January effect next month. So as we are, all share index settled at 31,000 and 37.72 points as at Friday, week to date, and equity capitalization closed at 11.337 trillion naira. Volume spikes for the week. We ended up at investors did some 3.129 billion units of shares for a value of 14.34 billion naira, and that took place in 10,394 deals. If you look at the banking segment, was positive. The insurance segment of the financial services sector of the market was down 105 basis points. Consumer goods ended positive, 12.73%. Oil and gas also ended positive. The industrial goods segment was, however, negative at the end of the day due to the losses that we've seen in Dangote Cement at that period. If you look at the energy market, a whole lot of the numbers there were not too changed. Cornell, for example, was up 10%. Forte Oil did some 9.92% for Friday. 11 PLC was unchanged in terms of capital appreciation. MRS was also unchanged, but O&O up was some 3.13% after some 2.03 million units of shares were traded there. Seplat was not changed in terms of price appreciation now. And Etana PLC rose some 8.7% after some 209,000 units of shares were traded there. Japol did some 1.92 million units of shares and closed at 20 kobo per share. This takes us to the unlisted securities market, where we saw bumper harvest there as well, closing 733.35 points, up some 2.94% for the week. And we saw the market capitalization hitting 509.69 billion naira again. Now we do hope that that will remain at that level into 2019 as well. Volume was down 14% to 75.35 million units of shares valued at 503.58 million naira. In terms of the fixed income market, we saw the bonds market also experiencing some buy sentiment. In particular, the 14th of March 2027 saw its yields declining by some 9 basis points week to date. But if you look at what transpired on Friday, you see the price rose to 104 naira 75 kobo, even though we saw just 8 deals across that particular counter, which is valued at 3.10 billion naira. The sentiment for a lot of analysts is expected to continue, today being the last trading day of the year, so that investors who are taking position before now can get their own Yuletide gift from the market. Generally, we had some 49 deals in the market. Yes, on Friday, valued at 20.61 billion naira. For the Treasury bills market, we've continued to see the CBN carrying out aggressive mop-up via auctions in the market on daily basis. That didn't change last week. We saw over 600 billion naira this last week auctioned by the central bank in the market. If you look at the numbers we have on screen, the 10th of January 2019 security, basically at the short end of the curve, we saw some kind of interest there. And total this for Friday was just 207, valued at 62.10 billion naira. As we open the new week, except for tomorrow that we will be having the new year, the CBN is also expected to continue this aggressive mop-up by way of OMO auctions in the market, Bosun.
Yes, at Temple, yes, we'll spend some time a little bit later with the folks from FMDQ to give us a bit of the yield curve as we wrap up the year. Today is the final trading, the deal-making day. But again, I don't want us to miss this story around the Bois Group and CCNN, cement company of Northern Nigeria, pushing the competition to the doorsteps of Dangote Cement with this. What do we know about this story? CCNN share price seems to be a hot cake weeks before, where no one, most folks on the street were not aware of what was going on behind closed doors.
This is where the phrase "buy on the rumor, sell on the news" comes into play. I mean, we didn't know really. The public really didn't know why the CCNN numbers was really changing for the positive in recent time. The only thing we know was that about 2 weeks ago, CCNN released released some of its results, and it was really, really impressive. Profit after tax was positive. PBT was also positive. Revenue for the period was very impressive. And we saw investors quickly taking position. Maybe for some of the traders who bought into it, they probably just bought for the numbers, which is really positive as it was released to the market. And of course, for the fact that maybe some dividends will be coming up. But we never knew that, I mean, this was actually in the offing until now.
Okay.
And with the way things are right now, of course, you will expect the share price to continue to rise.
Temple, what we want you to do, what you do for us is just look at the numbers, look at the first hours of the bell, and in about 30 minutes or thereabout, we'll get back to you to check in with you on how this cement share price. CNN is moving today now that the news is on the street. Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent. When we come back, it's traditional for the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry to release a major report at the end of the year, giving you what you call a look back and a look forward numbers and what you call the facts and figures. What's the playbook for 2019 on business, commerce, and industry? Muda Yusuf, the Director General and CEO of LCCI, is live here in the studio for a two-part interview. You don't want to miss that. We're right back in 2 minutes.